So we're out in the shop filming today while everyone's gonna watch me film. And back to the DuPont sign for you DuPont Crooked D lovers and haters. But I wanna do a quick video today because I get lots and lots of questions about how I judge the leather in the boots, and a lot of DMs of people asking me to judge the leather quality of whatever product they send me a photo of. So this video is going to be the 3 ways that I judge leather when I don't have a whole lot of time to look into where the leather comes from, and just like a quick 10-second judgment of leather. So the first thing I look for in any leather product when I'm judging the quality is how foamy or how dense does the leather feel. Usually a more foamy leather is going to be a cheaper quality, and a more tightly packed, more dense leather is going to be a higher quality leather product, because the way they tan cheap leather is it's a really fast chemical process, and those chemicals kind of break down the fiber structure and the structural integrity of the leather. So you kind of have this effect where the top layer feels a little separated from the rest of the leather, and it kind of creates a foamy feel. Versus a higher quality leather, it's tanned slower and more thoroughly, and a lot of like fats and liquids and oils are worked into the leather, which create a really heavy, dense feel to it, and it's a more solid feel to it. So that's not always the case, because sometimes you can take a really high quality leather and tumble it to soften it, and it kind of gives it a foamy feel. But if it's really dry and it's foamy and the top layer feels like it's slopping around a little bit, that's usually an indicator of a poor leather, especially if you see some bluing on the inside, like we talked about in the previous videos, because if it was dyed really fast, they didn't re-tan it, you're gonna see some of that bluing from the chrome tanning salts in there. The next thing that I look for is, what does the flesh side of the leather look like? Is it really loose fibers, or is it matted down nice and flat? And that kind of goes back to the same thing as the foaminess. If it was a quickly tanned leather where they didn't spend the time to really fully re-tan it, or if it's a veg tan to spend enough time in the vats of tanning liquids, it's going to loosen up the grain structure or the fiber structure on the backside. And a lot of times a nicer leather, they're gonna spend the extra time and money at the tannery to have that flesh side laid down flat, to finish the flesh, to even dye the flesh. Some people like that fuzzy look on the backside of a leather, and same with like nubuck. So just because it has a little bit of fuzziness to it doesn't mean it's a horrible leather, but it's kind of an indicator of a cheap leather if it's really, really fibrous on the backside. And the third, and probably the most important thing that I look for is there a visible grain structure in the cross section of the leather? So a lot of leather products, you can see a raw edge, and if you see that little grain pattern at the very top or the outside portion of the leather, that usually means it's not cut from that split portion of the hide. So if you're not familiar with what like the grain structure is and the split portion of the hide is, I have a video on genuine leather that I just posted about like what the split portion is and why people call it genuine and why the grain is so important. But you're looking for that little tightly packed fiber structure at the very outside portion of the leather. That's going to be an indicator that the leather is either a full grain or top grain leather and not made from the splits. So if you don't see that, it's going to be a cheaper leather. If you see a really nice thick layer of a grain, it's going to be a higher quality leather. It's not always a perfect indicator of a quality leather, but I would take a poorer quality full grain or top grain leather over a really nice quality split leather anytime or any day. So these are just general rules. They're not hard and fast rules that are going to be accurate 100% of the time, but the rules that you can make a quick snap judgment of whatever leather product you're looking at to be right like 80 to 90% of the time. Let me know what you guys think. Is there other characteristics and things you look for when you're judging leather? Put them in the comment section, because the comment section is a really good resource for people who want a little more in-depth information or a second point of view, or maybe a contrasting point of view. Do me a favor and like and subscribe to help this video out, because I think a lot of people like learning the more finer details of leatherworking and leather quality. So thanks so much for your guys' support. See ya.